I hope.
So what you will call it? A walk in the Jurassic Park? A day in the Jurassic Park?
Yeah, I will call it interview with senior trainers.
Okay.
But the whole idea is to make several interviews, blitz interviews with you, Liani, Gerlin, and Eunice. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, how many years have you been in biosynthesis?
Oh my God. Over 30, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I was young and I'm old.
Why have you chosen biosynthesis? Did David's charisma play in your role?
Yes, sure. I was introduced into body work through Lowen, because I remember just by chance I bought his book Bioenergetics,
Mm-hmm.
and then I felt that this book has so much knowledge that is more than all the other knowledge I had from psychology. So I tried to reach him, and then I was participating in his workshops. And then in one of the congresses of bioenergetics, I volunteered for David to show some exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment that his hand was approaching my body, not even touching yet, I felt trust.
But was it Lowen's workshop or David's workshop?
It was a bioenergetics conference in Belgium, I think. That's where I met David for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, he was just about to start his trainings, his own trainings.
Mm-hmm.
He used to be a guest trainer in bioenergetics, biodynamic. So he was just about to start his first trainings in biosynthesis. And so I decided that I would train with him.
Mm-hmm. It happened.
Yes,
It just happened.
Until that time, because I was in psychology and I was trying all different modalities to see what type of therapy I like for myself first, and then as a professional. And I was doing one year in family therapy, and one year in Gestalt, and one year in group dynamics, and another year I don't know what else, I don't even remember now. And I was on the edge of being put into the category of non-committed person, because I do 1 year, I say no, this is not exactly what I want. So I was trying something else, and then one more year, and it was, no, I don't really like this, and then another year of something else. So now, because of my experience, I encourage people to find something that is really suitable for them, and not go according to criteria of, oh, this has a good reputation, or this will give me a good degree, or whatever. For me, it's very important to find something that really speaks to you. And then when I found biosynthesis, I stayed.
So, and what is biosynthesis for you?
Okay, there are many things that I like in biosynthesis, but one main thing that I like very much is that it gives me a context, a framework, where I feel quite free to bring my qualities, myself, and still belong to this modality. So this for me is very important. I don't like so much to become a copy of a master.
And you told about your qualities. What qualities are important? Your qualities and just
my
qualities.
qualities. I don't like to say this. It's something that I feel it's for other people to speak about us, and then we can agree or not agree. But I don't like it so much that a person speaks about his qualities.
No, I mean, what qualities you think are important for biosynthesis therapist?
Oh, for a biosynthesis therapist?
Yeah.
Well, we put this very strong emphasis on contact and resonance and presence. And this is how we train people also. That's why we don't have a written text, and we go according to the book. So we train people how to bring forth themselves in the context of the therapy. And then it's also very important for me that biosynthesis is a spiritual psychotherapy. So it allows for immaterial dynamics and incorporates this into the process of the therapy. Then, of course, is a process-oriented psychotherapy. For me, it's psychodynamically based, which is a strong issue. Some people want to see it more as humanistic, but for me, the psychodynamic aspect in biosynthesis has to remain strong.
And still, what qualities, personal qualities, are important for biosynthesis therapist? Or it doesn't?
No, it's his ability to contain the process, the strong emotions. Grounding is extremely important for this. Centering, as we say. Receptivity. Contact to himself, herself. Vulnerability.
Vulnerability?
Yes. We don't go so much with the role because we allow for the real human contact between two human beings. I mean, there is this psychodynamic aspect that I spoke about, this transference, counter-transference. But I like David's idea that it still remains a human exchange between two equal human beings.
So it's so interesting.
Equal on the level of humaneness.
Because when you told vulnerability, for me it was like, should I develop vulnerability in myself in order to
we are vulnerable. We don't have to develop vulnerability. we have to develop strength, but not to cover up vulnerability.
Yeah. I agree.
Contain vulnerability.
Can you tell me how biosynthesis has influenced your life?
Well, it has influenced it on many levels because it's the personal level. That is, I have done my process within therapeutic process within biosynthesis. So I think this is a major contribution to who I am and how I feel, and have a better home in my body. So this is on the personal level. Then it's the professional level because I'm a biosynthesis therapist trainer, and so it gave me a context where, as I said, I can work and bring out who I am, feel this freedom to be myself. And then it has also influenced me through all the contacts that I have made within biosynthesis all these years. I travel, I have friends all over the world. This is a very beautiful environment. I think it was one of the very good choices in my life that somehow biosynthesis came in my way. But I remember when I was thinking if I should follow biosynthesis or stay with bioenergetics, and there it was a personal decision to do the training in Switzerland, because I had to travel from Greece to Switzerland to do the training. It was not a simple thing for me.
Yeah. We know that there are a lot of very nice and beautiful and strong concepts in biosynthesis, but what is the major point for you? Contact, I know contact, but what concept
for me
is?
it's the quality of essence, for me. I believe very much in this. It also connects with this spiritual element that I said that biosynthesis allows. I like to view psychotherapy, and not just psychotherapy, but the purpose in a way of one's life to be that everybody is trying to become a better version of himself. So this better version of oneself for me relates to this essence that we have in biosynthesis. And this is something I find naturally attracted to.
It's interesting. What do you think is the most challenging thing for understanding in biosynthesis? What is difficult to understand?
I think in general it's a bit difficult. I mean, people are those who are attracted to biosynthesis. They feel there's something that is real and important and good in biosynthesis, and at the same time they feel a little bit chaotic in the beginning, because there's not such a step-by-step thing of what you do first, what you do second, what you do in this case, what you do in that case. So it's a totally different teaching, educational model than what most people are used to, most old people. So this trust they have to develop, which they do out of their own experience in the experiential work we do in the trainings. So this is basic trust that comes from inside. It doesn't come from the mind. The mind feels quite at loss and insecure, and some students maybe even be critical about that we don't have a good structure and things like this. But because they trust this other thing, the experience they had from themselves being clients in the program, they stay, and then of course as time goes by they don't have this criticism anymore. The insecurity of being a biosynthesis therapist, I think it's always there, or almost always there, because you never know what you will do. It's always a creative process, a creative contact and interaction with the person, so you learn to put your trust in this basic process. And also what I like to say to people, that they are in the context of this field, they are in a field, they are never alone with the client. It's a broader field, and because I always like to feel people in the context of what I call the lifeline, that is the people who are before us and around us, And when people open up to this perception that there are resources on a higher level of energy in the room, so it's not just them and their ideas, it's what they carry through their own experience and through the group to which they belong and through the training school that they belong to. So it's like all of this is in the room when they are with the client. And of course this is something very obvious in the supervisions we do. They have a direct experience of the field.
And how would you explain what biosynthesis is for ordinary people, not for psychologists and psychotherapists?
Okay, this, okay, in a way it's difficult to explain body psychotherapy to people. It's becoming a little bit more easier now because it's becoming more mainstream, this body-mind connection. In the older days, this was like we were some strange creatures speaking things nobody could understand. Now it's much easier. But I like one example. We were presenting the books that we have in Greek in biosynthesis. And then there was a woman in the audience and she was saying, I still don't understand what is different from biosynthesis and other modalities. And then Vasilis was there and she said, come, I will have, I offer you an experience. So he just said, give me your hands or something like this. And then this woman was like, I can see there is love in this method. So in simple terms, and this is a word I don't like to use, but in simple terms, I think this is what people experience through all this, what we say, the contact and the resonance and the equality and vulnerability of human beings. People experience as more love, I think. At the same time, this is a dangerous point because then you can reduce biosynthesis to something that is, let's open our heart and we are together and we care for each other and
superficial positivity.
Then it brings you to the level of New Age movement or ridiculous approach to psychotherapy. I mean, this is not psychotherapy. So this is the danger. It's the strong part, but at the same time, it can be a weak part in biosynthesis. Because, yes, therapy is about love. You can say this. But then, what does it really mean? And this has a lot of depth. That's why I like to bring the psychodynamic basis in this. We have to be aware of the shadow in people. We have to be aware of projections. We have to be aware of symbiosis and individuation. So it's not simple, I open my heart to you and this way we make therapy.
And did you see any contraindication
for biosynthesis?
Yeah.
No. To the contrary, I think it's a very good method. We have some psychiatrists working in psychiatric units and all inmates prefer the biosynthesis therapist. And I think it's because they can sense that the biosynthesis therapist has integrated this aspect of humaneness that I said about. So you can address the other person as a human being, you are also a human being, and this is a level of equality between you, and you don't keep strictly, you're not only on the roles that are in hierarchy. So there's an integration of hierarchy and at the same time of commonness. and so they like this. No, I think there's no contraindication, but you have to be careful how you work, in what context, if it's individual therapy, if it is group therapy, if it is in your private office, if it is in your home. Around these issues there are contraindications, of course, but the method as such, I wouldn't say there are contraindications. No. And even for people who have, they are traumatized or sexually abused, and you shouldn't really go very much with touch and closeness. We have so many ways that you can work with the body, keeping distance, and very gradually develop this. So, yeah, no, I don't think so.
So, no contraindications, no limitations.
No, I see biosynthesis more as a way of thinking and feeling and being in life. I see it in a broader sense. I don't see it as a narrow sense of psychotherapy where you come to solve a problem and then go back to your life. I think it's an orientation to life. So it's a philosophy. It's a philosophical stance towards life and its problems and its joys and its purpose.
Do we have any limitation towards the life? So it's in orienting ourselves towards the life. I understand. It was
the only thing I want to say is, because again here you run the risk of saying becoming like a sect, that biosynthesis is our religion. And for me, it's not like this. That's why I said even in the beginning that biosynthesis to me offers a framework, and then within this framework I can be very free. And then this is not like a religion, because we have to be also careful about this us and the others. Not to go into this dynamic. We are the chosen ones.
About dynamic, are there any peculiarities of developing biosynthesis in your country?
What do you mean?
I mean that each country has its own just cultures, its own belief system, its own social and economical situation.
So we have problems around this, you mean?
It's just, I put it broader. Are there any just specialty or any peculiarities of development by synthesis? What is
I think
different in your country if we compare with other countries?
Yes, I think there are a lot of difficulties in Greece, and that's why we don't have so many schools of body psychotherapy. It's not so developed. We have a Reichian school, but Reich appeals to a certain group of people. So we have a Reichian school, and then we have biodynamic school that are doing their international program in Greece. So it's not really Greek school. And us, no other school managed to develop a school or a program.
You mean body psychotherapy?
Body psychotherapy, yes. I think, Lon used to say that he finds the strongest split between mind and body in the Greek people, of all cultures that he was. And I take this quite seriously because he had a lot of experience. So this observation is always in my mind. I can have different hypotheses about this, how to explain this, if it's true. I would say it's a conservative culture in terms of psychotherapy. We have a lot of psychoanalysis and a big family therapy group. That's mainly it. Gestalt is growing in the recent years. Of course, it always has to do with people and who is doing what and how he communicates and what he promotes and so on. But yes, I would say that we are a conservative culture in terms of therapy. And a lot in the mind.
Do you know any areas, any subjects which are not covered yet in biosynthesis, which should be developed in the future?
Absolutely. I think biosynthesis is just in the beginning. It's a huge area of applications that need to be developed, and I think this is something we should be doing cross-culturally, because it's a waste of time and energy if in every culture we start from the beginning to find how to do this. And there I see a very broad area of cooperation between our countries. For me, biosynthesis can be applied into any field of knowledge, but it needs people to experiment with this and interact between themselves so that they can grow together in this field of application.
Can you give me at least one example? What should be developed? What is not developed yet?
Well, what we try to develop in Greece, and you know that we have this cooperation in this program, is about applying biosynthesis to children. I think this is a great field. It's such a pity that it has not been done until now, because for me biosynthesis is the best way you can work with children from newborns to adolescents. I think we are in a very good point. We started developing this program. The people who are working in it, they're doing excellent work, fantastic really. I like these case studies to be published, and so that more people can see what we can do. And I don't think it's even difficult, because we have all the tools. It's just, it needs some guidance. Our students need some guidance how to do this, how to cooperate with the parents, how to explain to the parents, and then provide the context, because the children, when you work with biosynthesis, they are absolutely guiding you in what they need. You don't even, have to worry about what you need to offer, because they will show you. Yeah, it's wonderful work.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much for taking the initiative and for doing the work to produce this. And I would like very much to hear what the other old trainers have to say.
Senior.
Senior.
Not old, not Jurassic.
Yes.
Senior.
Okay. We are seniors. Thank you.
Thank you, dear.